So today we're gonna be talking about a topic that is very interesting in my opinion, and it's also very abstract, but it's about discovering and embracing the unconscious parts of yourself. It's also referred as the shadow self, your shadows, and this is a word that I was introduced to a few years ago, the concept of your shadows. And since then, I have been doing a lot of shadow work, looking at those shadows in myself, learning techniques, having a support group around me to help me do that. And it's been a very beautiful journey, very healing. This concept, I'm lucky that my wife, Samantha, my partner, also is aware of this topic, and she also does a lot of her own work. So together we help each other as a couple too, and but we both have separate groups to do some of this work too. So, hi Christine, hi Alison, hi Becca. So before we get started, I would like to know, what does it mean for you guys to the concept of your shadow, your shadows, or your shadow self? What does that mean to you? I'm just curious to know. I'm sure some of you may be familiar with the concept, some of you maybe this is a completely new word. I'm just curious to know where you guys are at. Hi Lorette, hi Christine, hi Isadora. Yeah, so what does it mean for you? Your shadow self or your shadows. Low frequency. Thank you, Karen. The one I don't let anyone see. Interesting. Yeah, the part of yourself that you don't let anyone see. The parts of myself that I don't like or hide. It's Jungian psychology. So, Janet, it is from Carl Jung, but what does it mean to you? The one that makes inappropriate remarks and has emotional tantrums. That's beautiful, Isadora. The one that makes inappropriate remarks and has emotional tantrums. And I would like to ask you, Isadora, why do you think that part of yourself has emotional tantrums? I'm just curious to know what comes out of that. What we do and attract subconsciously. I think it's the parts of me I reject. The hidden boss. I like that, Maria. That's amazing. Clearly, when the shadow is, when the shadow is showing up, it is the boss. You are acting from that part of yourself. Absolutely true. So it is the hidden boss. So many times. Do we reference any book today? No, we don't. It is in our subconscious mind, the part we feel uncomfortable with, almost feel ashamed of. Beautiful. So shame, discomfort, beliefs I have learned before I had agency to choose my own values. Beautiful, Becca. So the things that you were exposed to, that you didn't have a choice, and that became your reality. Beautiful. The shame. Perfect topic for the full moon in Scorpio, released today. Yeah, BD, thank you for mentioning that. Today my partner is having a moon ceremony, a full moon ceremony, and I even didn't know it was full moon, so it wasn't planned. I guess Spirit is orchestrating everything here for me. Isadora says, because I hold it all in and then it bursts like an overheated tea kettle. That's amazing, Isadora. So the reason why that part of yourself is having emotional tantrums is because it doesn't have space to express itself, right? Because you are holding it in. That is a beautiful awareness. Thank you for sharing. The part that gets triggered by other people's behaviors and yet reveals what I still need to work through. Wow, amazing. That is an amazing, JB, amazing definition. I love it. The part that gets triggered by other people's behaviors and yet reveals what I still need to work through. That is so beautiful. Thank you. What Lorette said, it's the parts we don't like, the traits we hypocritically point out and criticize in others. Janet, that is beautiful. That is what a projection is, right? Things that we observe in others and we project on others, and they are inside of us too. Beautiful. Wow, guys, I think you can run the show. You guys know so much about this. It's amazing. Yeah, and thank you so much for all of these definitions because they are all amazing. Thank you. I'm very impressed. Now, another question that I would like to ask: how do you do shadow work in your life? How do you look at these parts of yourself that you deny, that you repress, that you hide, that you are ashamed of, that you are holding in, that you don't want others to see, that these parts of yourself get triggered by other people's behaviors, these parts of yourself get projected into others? How do you do your shadow work? I'm curious to know if you have a specific way on how you look at this. And yes, the definition I know about the shadow is the part of ourselves that we repress, we deny, and we avoid. But everything that you guys said in there is beautiful. Those parts of ourselves that are in the shadows, it means they are in the dark part of ourselves. It means they are unconscious. It means they are not integrated. It means we are holding them there unconsciously majority of the times because it's uncomfortable to look at them, because those parts of ourselves are not accepted socially speaking. We also did a series of talks about the book Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, and in one of those sessions we were talking about the role self versus your true self. And the role self is basically, I will say, that is the persona that you create to be able to fit in your family systems. And everything that doesn't fit in that persona gets pushed down, gets repressed into the shadows. For example, if you were a very expressive child and you were always told, shut up, don't be loud, keep the voice quiet, don't speak here, stay quiet there, you are no one to keep talking like that. If you got repressed and you were 3, 4, 5 years old, you learned that that part of yourself was unwelcome. So what did you do? You just repress that part of yourself because it is not accepted. And then years later, that part of yourself that has been repressed, that you have avoided unconsciously because it was painful to act from that part, to express yourself, it got repressed, but then that part of yourself is trying to get afloat. It's trying to bubble up. It's trying to express itself. And if we don't do the work of reintegrating that part of ourselves back, it's going to act up in ways that we may not control. It's going to show up, it's going to express, it's going to create tantrums, it's going to show up in some ways. And it is our job to figure that out. It is our job to discover what that is. It is our job to be curious and to honor that part of ourselves and then integrate it back in our lives in a way that feels good. So, good question. I try to accept those parts of myself. Lorette, beautiful. Acceptance is so beautiful. Once you become aware of those parts that you are hiding, you are repressing, you are avoiding, you don't want people to see. So the first step is to accept them. They are there. They are real. So thank you. Accepting. And I'm curious, Lorette, if you want to answer, how do you find acceptance for those parts? How do you do that process? What does it look like to be able to accept something that you don't like, that you feel is dangerous, that you feel is shameful? How do you find acceptance for that? Isadora says, all this shadow work talks on IT, focus on self-acceptance. But how do you accept such darkness in ourselves? It's a paradox. Yeah, Isadora, thank you. That was the question I had for Loretta, right? How does she do it? Hi, Elena. I try to catch myself when I am critical of others and question if I myself am guilty of that very thing. And if so, how I can address that behavior in myself. Beautiful, Janet. That is a beautiful practice. Observing what you are critical about and then really noticing how am I that. And sometimes I would like to add, sometimes maybe you are seeing something in that person, in that behavior that you want in your life and you repressed it, but you really want it, and then you criticize it because you didn't integrate it in yourself. And that is the work, right? It's a beautiful way of doing it. Anytime you feel triggered by someone's behavior, reflecting what is true about me, about that behavior, or what do I want more in my life that that behavior is it's telling me. And it's such a beautiful practice. So thank you for that. Um, so let me see. So I write my fears and resentments down to better clarify what triggers me. Yeah, Iris, beautiful. So you are trying to discover the triggers. You are trying to bring awareness to that, and that will help you work through them. Beautiful. They are not necessarily dark. We simply perceive them that way. Traits just are. It's how we utilize and apply them that makes them have a positive or negative impact. Yeah, Janet beautifully said. Um, the concept shadow, it relates to darkness because the shadow is dark, but the truth is that I agree with what Janet said. Your shadows they have power if you can integrate them in your life, if you can accept them and integrate them in your life and act consciously from those parts of yourself. That they don't have to be dark, they don't have to be negative, they don't have to be anything that you don't want them to be. They can be something. They were unconscious before and now they are conscious. So they were in the dark before, in the shadows, but now you are shining the light on them and they became conscious. You accept them, you integrate them in your life. And that is the work of shadow work, right? So thank you for that. Janet, thank you for that. Becca says, I am working to identify my wounds, fears, how they express in my life, and act on them with love. Yeah, beautiful, Becca. Thank you. So you are working to identify your wounds, your fears, how they express in your life, and then act on them with love. Beautiful. Yeah, Lorette says, through compassion for the inner child who learned this behavior. Yeah. And it's nice, guys, because here Lorette is bringing shadow work with inner child work, and it's connecting those two concepts, and it's beautiful. Thank you so much for that, Lorette. I could not have done it the way you have done it, so thank you for adding that. Still struggling with acceptance. Yeah, Isadora, it's normal. It makes total sense. It's very difficult to accept something that feels wrong, to accept something that we have repressed, because maybe we were not accepted when we were expressing that, and it feels unsafe, it feels wrong, it feels, yeah, just heavy and negative. Acceptance, especially when it comes to deserving, feeling worthy. My shadows make me feel unlovable. Yeah. Thank you for owning that, Isadora. Thank you so much for owning that, for being aware of that. Because most likely it is not true, but we believe it is true. And that is the work. How can we find acceptance in those pieces that feel so unlovable? I never considered it may be indicative of something I want but have been denying. I am going to consider that moving forward. Thank you. Yeah, look in the mirror and practice acceptance. Acceptance. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for this. It's so wonderful how you guys are doing this work, and yeah, we can keep going with this conversation in whatever way feels good. But basically, um, Isadora, the ego comes through as the critic. Yeah, yeah, and also the ego concept, right? The ego. What is the ego, right? And it's just so just to make sure that you guys understand, we are trying to put labels into something that we're trying to put names into something that is not. It's very difficult to define, but we have to come up with something. But it doesn't do a good job. Any label, anything to express that doesn't make any really good sense. But basically, the ego also relates with the shadows, right? The ego is a part of us that sometimes takes control, and many times it is we are not conscious of it. And the ego can relate to the shadows, right? And it can relate to shadow work, and it can relate to inner child work, because sometimes we did learn those things, or we started to repress those things, or we were told that that thing was really bad, so we started to hide that thing when we were little. And then that little child in us has been inside of us repressing that thing that he or she wants to express, and it's just dying in there. And then someone said, like, I have an emotional tantrum because those things want to bubble up, and if I don't do this work, they will bubble up in ways that probably are going to be destructive, probably they are going to be negative. The impact is not going to be good. But if we do the work and we recognize those parts, we find acceptance and find love for those parts, we can integrate them in our lives, and then those parts won't need to bubble up that way, because they will be present, and we are going to be honoring them, accepting them, and forgiving ourselves and others for the reason why they went into the shadows. So the ego was installed by very cruel parents who had no emotional regulation themselves, leading to a lifetime of resenting, hypocrisy, and authority. Yeah, Isadora, thank you for sharing. I personally feel that I want to believe that parents did the best they could with what they had. And it is true that many times there were cruel behaviors, but I still believe that deep down they were created by something inside of them, because probably they didn't know how to do it better. Probably they didn't have role models to show them. Probably they didn't know, they didn't have tools, they didn't have access to the internet, they didn't have insight timers, they didn't have meditation, they didn't have self-care, they probably didn't even know what that meant. So it makes sense that we feel that way, and it makes sense that we felt it was cruel. And finding acceptance, in my own experience, I have found acceptance and forgiveness for my parents through witnessing them as little child, through listening to the stories of their childhoods, through listening to how they were treated, through spending time with my grandparents and noticing how they believe in things, what they do, the reasons why they do what they do, and how their infancy was. And if we keep going back, we just keep doing the same thing unless we do this work. This is why doing this work is so important, because we are going to stop generational trauma. We're going to stop family systems that no longer make sense. And hopefully we can do it with love, with respect. Yeah, and hopefully we can even go back to them and show them what that looks like. Without anger. Still honoring what happened, but also being able to forgive, being able to accept, being able to move forward in a different way, from a place of love and respect, rather than from a place of anger and frustration and hate. So That is my experience. It doesn't have to be your experience, guys, but thank you for sharing your truth. I really appreciate it. Yeah, Emilio, that was so well said. I love that. Thank you, Lorette. Marjorie says, I can relate to the deep sentiments and reactions you are expressing. Yeah, it's funny how much emotion is running through me right now, right? And this is not mine. Honestly, it's not. When we do this work, we recognize that so many things that we are working through, they are not ours. They are not my parents either. They're probably who knows from who. But generations after generations, they have been transferred. And now I feel so privileged because I'm sitting here in a comfortable home with food on the table, with money to spend and go to restaurants and travel, with an audience, with a computer, a laptop, with a phone, with light, with all these things, access to you guys through Inside Timer. And my parents didn't have that. My grandparents didn't have that. So that's why it feels like it is my responsibility and work to do the best I can with what I have and to really honor my ancestors for allowing me to be here today, because I'm here thanks to them. I'm sitting on the shoulders of so many generations back. Yeah, and I know that they did their best. So let me see what else I can relate. I can relate to the deep sentiments. Thank you. I wonder if the middle age crisis. Yeah, that's a good one. Let me see if I can find it. I can relate. Oh, I wonder if the middle age crisis brings more of the shadow to light. Iris, I totally believe that. The middle life crisis is the point where I think the little one, the little child in us is saying enough. We are saying enough. And it's like a wake-up call to say there is a different way of doing this. There are different priorities. There are different ways of spending time and energy that can be more healing. And it is our way to wake up. And hopefully we all do. Who's chopping onions? Thank you for sharing your heart. Thank you, Becca. It is what it is, guys. I can't hide it. I don't want to hide it. So just before this, I was realizing that the words and behaviors of other family members that aggravated me was the only way they knew how to cover and cope with the anxiety and grief we are all still going through since my mother passed, which was a turbulent undercurrent last night, co-hosting our first Seder, traditional dinner on the first night of Passover, for the first time without her. Yeah, Marjorie, thank you for sharing that. I feel your heart, I feel your sadness. And it's so beautiful that you are aware of that. And it's so beautiful that you can be wider than the trauma. And you can be present with what is and really acknowledge what's happening. And understand that everybody's doing the best they can with what they know. And sometimes we get caught in our own shit and we close and we become unconscious and we don't have the capacity to do that. And sometimes we do have the capacity to do that and see things for what they are without putting labels. So Janet says, the middle crisis was disproven. Life contentment goes up 40 plus. I think we become more aware in middle life though. Yeah, Janet, I think the middle life we are really starting to assess what have we done, how do we feel, and majority of the times there is still something, some emptiness that we feel inside, right? And sometimes we are craving to fill that emptiness with something, and when we are halfway, maybe we have had a family, maybe we have a partner, maybe we have a house, maybe we have what we believed was important, but then we still feel that emptiness. And sometimes we start questioning, so what's next? So what do I need? So why am I feeling this void inside? And sometimes that is need for connection, sometimes that is need to express something that has been unexpressed for so long. Sometimes that is pain that you feel because you want to be different, and you don't know how to. Yeah. Just thinking that my predecessors probably felt the pain of separation, abandonment, rejection, and fear of loneliness just as I did. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so doing this work is so important because so many times, if we don't do this shadow work, if we don't get curious, if we are not willing to look at these things, they are going to keep acting from the background. They are going to keep becoming the boss of our lives at certain times and making decisions for us and behaving for us. And many times it's not going to be a good scene. Most times we are not going to make a good decision from that place. That's why it's important to recognize that part, to hopefully honor it, accept it, and then integrate it in our lives in whatever way feels good to us. And I have a couple of examples that I can share about how this relates to, for example, decluttering your home. It's just such a physical example, but how this person was cluttering their home because of a wound that was repressed since she was 3-4 years old. And that part of herself from the background being repressed was acting and was cluttering their home, and she was unaware of it, and she was suffering, and she didn't like what she was seeing, and she didn't know how to change it. And it wasn't until we did some tapping together and we really uncovered that part of herself that was repressed that she became aware of it. And then she cried, and then she felt really bad, and then she processed what she needed to process, and then she started to accept it. And then she was able to honor it and to integrate it. And it was beautiful because it looked like something like, until now, so she was talking to the little one, right? Until now, you have been in a cage. I never let you express yourself because I learned I couldn't. But guess what? From now on, you're gonna be here with me, and you're gonna be expressing what you need, and I'm gonna create that space for you. And that was the resolution for her. That was what she needed. That was the integration of that part of herself that was trying to cover the wound of not being seen. I don't matter. I don't have space. I cannot be myself, because she was always told, put your things here, don't put that there, be quiet, your space is just this suitcase. And she was moving from home to home, and the only space she had was a little suitcase, and she wasn't allowed to use anything else in anywhere. And she was constantly moving, and she never had space to be herself. So when she got her own home, guess what happened? That part of herself started to spread things out everywhere, because she wanted to express, she wanted to claim, she wanted to be worthy of having space. But she didn't know she was doing that. And that part of herself was expressing in a toxic way because it was unconscious. But then when she became aware, all of a sudden, like, she can make that little girl and her together, integration, they can start making different choices because they are in a different position, right? She's aware of what's happening. She's aware of that little piece of herself. She's aware of what's needed. She's aware of how that need was being um, covered. And then she was able to start moving forward in a different direction. And that's how powerful it can be, this shadow slash inner child work. This is how powerful it can be. And I just can't believe how much connection there is between the work I do physically and these deep wounds that goes back to childhood. It's just so powerful. And that's why one of the course ideas I still have on my to-do that I haven't created yet is healing through decluttering. Because every time we declutter, every time we are helping someone declutter, we are opening up Pandora's box. We are opening up the door to such deep wounds, to such deep beliefs that were created when they were so little. And then that's their shadows. They are pretty much opening the door to their shadows and going down there with a flashlight, trying to figure out what's happening. And then they are bringing that thing up to the light, and then they are figuring out, so now what? Now what? What do I do with this? And then they can figure out a different way of start moving forward with that part of themselves with them. And that's why sometimes it takes time, right? So yeah, that's one story. I have another one, but let me read the comments. So OCD behavior addictions have also shadow behind. Yeah, absolutely. OCD behaviors, addictions, absolutely. There is always a shadow piece. There is always something that is not being expressed, something that is being denied, something that is being hidden. Like you are stuffing it back because it's uncomfortable, and that part of yourself needs to get expressed. And that's why sometimes we have addictions. We bite our nails, we drink too much, we use drugs, we abuse something, food, or maybe we watch porn, or maybe and that's why doing the work can also start there, recognizing your, okay, what are my addictions, and what is my relationship to that addiction, and what am I willing to do about it? Am I willing to learn? Am I willing to start cutting this up and see what comes up, and then understand why I'm doing this? So yeah, addictions is a very powerful entryway too. That story just made me come to my own realization. Something just opened up for me with that story. Thank you, BD. You are welcome. It is a real story, and happy to share it. I'm so happy for you, Janet, too, and BD, and Iga, and Beth. That story is impactful. So guys, what came up for you when I was sharing that story? If you are willing to share, like, what did you discover? What did you resonate with? Beth says, we lived above a family business and I had to be quiet and small. My possessions were sometimes given away without my permission. Yeah. Beth, I can imagine how traumatizing that must feel and how unsafe, right? My room always had to be perfectly neat and clean. Yeah. Angie, Emilio, could you give any insight you have on the OCD shadow, please? My mom had OCD and I have developed it and can't understand why it's so difficult to change it. Thank you. Angie, are you happy to share a specific instance, a specific OCD behavior that you want to look at? That will be helpful, because otherwise it's very difficult to look at OCD. It's like looking at something. It's too overwhelming for me. I don't really know how to look at it. if you are willing to share a specific OCD behavior that you want to look at. For example, some OCD behaviors that I had, like I bite my nails, right? I do bite my nails, and now like I have been not biting my nails for a while, and I'm really proud of myself because I am. But I have sometimes I do this for months and I don't bite them, and then sometimes I just bite them like crazy. And for me, that's an emotional self-regulation strategy, right? When I am feeling more stable, I don't bite them. When I am feeling unsafe, lonely, stressed, unconscious, I'm not on my game, I normally will bite them unconsciously. And sometimes I don't even recognize, oh wow, I was watching a movie and then, oh no, I bit my nails. So that's so what tapping script did you use with that woman for the breaththrough in decluttering, please? So Alison, the tapping sentence that you use, and you can find this online very easily. If you type tapping or emotional freedom technique, how to do it, you will have videos. But basically, you start tapping on this karate chop point, okay, and then you start saying the sentence, even though I blank, I choose to love and accept myself. That is the ideal sentence. So for this woman, I can't remember exactly how it flew because it was 2 or 3 years ago. But basically, if she was feeling maybe shame, it will be, even though I am feeling shame, I choose to love and accept myself. Sometimes people can't say, I choose to love and accept myself. So in that case, I will change the sentence to something that feels true to them in the moment. So maybe it can seem like, even though I am feeling shame because my home is very cluttered, I choose to be open to new ideas. I choose to try and find a way to declutter my home. I choose, and then you say something that feels true to you. Hopefully something that it evokes something in you, okay? And then once you find emotion in the sentence that you are saying, I normally start validating. I'm just validating what the person is telling me. And then if I sense that they say that sentence and nothing is not emotionally charged, I will keep asking questions. So, and how did that make you feel? And what happened? And then when I sense something that evokes tears, something that evokes closeness, something that I see some emotional reaction, I will then create a sentence. I will help them create a sentence with those words. And then when they say that sentence, I'm already almost crying and I'm doing this. And it's not my stuff, right? But when I can sense that I am feeling emotion or the person is emotionally charged, that's when I know that I'm touching something important. And then we will do that sentence, even though I feel, even though I have, even though blah, 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 I choose to blah, blah, blah. Then you start the round of tapping, right? And then you do the points. And you keep validating. I feel shame. My house is a mess. I am doing this to my husband. I was unable to express myself when I was little. I needed space. I needed whatever. And then you keep validating until you feel complete. And then you keep validating everything that comes up. And then after you go back to the sentence and you repeat it, and then you sense, how is the emotional charge now? And then maybe something new comes up. So you do a round on that new affirmation that comes, right? Maybe from the shame, even though I feel shame, now it's like, even though I feel guilt because I have been cluttering the home for my husband for the last 10 years, I choose to accept that part of myself. I choose to accept that I did that. I choose to love and accept myself even though I did that. So you find whatever is true to you. It has to be true to you, okay? So that's how it works. And then we keep going until we uncover something, until it feels complete. A majority of the times, just that space for validation, that space for expression, what needs to come out, it's gonna come out. Guys, someone said it. I have emotional tantrums because that thing wants to bubble up. So what happens when you create space that is safe, space that is intentional, these things are gonna bubble up on their own. Like this morning, for example, I went to see my partner Samantha at her studio, and I was like feeling a lot of emotions, and then she got me through an exercise that it was what's present for you, and then she told me, do this with your arms, take a deep breath, stop, what's present for you, and then I had to share what was present. Okay, and then keep going, and then what's present for you. And this is similar to when they do this rapid eye movement exercise, but it's with tapping, and it was so powerful. It allowed me to express things that were in there. So there are different ways and different techniques on how to create space for this. But yeah, it's just basically those things need to come up, and it's just a matter of how can you do that. Okay, so let me see, are your comments? Still haven't stopped biting mine. Strangely, I have issues with decluttering because I am too attached to the past. I feel I am giving part of my youth away. Beautiful, Iris, so it's nice that you are aware of that. I hold on to my possessions like I need them, even notes I write to inspire myself. I accumulate too much paper. Thank you, Lorette, for owning that. Yeah. Yeah, so guys, you are becoming aware of these things, right? And now that you guys are becoming aware of these things, what do you want to do with them? So if you are becoming aware that you are not letting go of things because it feels like you are letting go of your past, so what is your conscious decision about that? How do you want to process that? What part of yourself is making that decision? Because I'm sure there is a part of yourself that most likely is hidden, most likely suppressed, most likely has been made wrong or whatever, and it's not probably integrated with you fully, and it's in the shadows, it's somewhere there, and that part of yourself is bubbling up and making decisions like this one. You are maintaining things that most likely you won't need because you are feeling emotional attachment to them, because you are feeling like it feels like you are giving away a part of your youth if you do that. So then be curious about that part of yourself. Why is that part of yourself there? What didn't you get when you were little, or what didn't you get? And then discover that part of yourself, and then bring it to the consciousness and integrate it. And then from this place of integration, then you question, like, what do I want to do? What is my new choice about this? What feels good moving forward? And that is when a breakthrough will happen, right? When you can integrate a part of yourself that was making decisions from the background, from the shadows, unconsciously, then you become aware of that, you accept it, you forgive yourself for that, you bring it to the consciousness, you integrate it with yourself, you honor it, and then together you decide to move forward in a different way, in a more aligned way. And what that is going to look different for each of you. And you are the only ones who knows, who will discover what that looks like, right? Yeah, so if you are interested in EFT, emotional freedom technique, I did a session about tapping that you can find. But yeah, there are teachers, and if you go to other places, you can find a lot of content about that. So it's very easy to find, okay? Or maybe what did you get as a child that you haven't been receiving as an adult? Maybe holding on is a way to relieve something that is now missing from your life. Yeah, this can show up, and thank you, Jeanette, for that, but this can show up in so many different ways. And so ways on what are some strategies or ways to start discovering these shadows of yours, this unconscious part of yourselves, or these things that you repress, that you deny, that you avoid, or that you pushed down when you were little because they were not accepted. And there are a few strategies that I want to share with you. Okay, so one strategy is I can say a few questions and then you can finish. So you can finish the sentence. I can say a few sentences and then you can finish the sentence. But the most important piece is that you become aware of what you feel. Okay? Are you guys ready? You guys want to do a couple just to see how it goes? And you can use the chat to complete the sentence. And these are really interesting ways to discover resistance, to discover emotions, to discover something new about yourself, to discover that you are feeling triggered about this topic, etc. You guys want to give it a shot? Couple sentences? Okay, let's just go straight to something that is going to probably trigger you. Okay, so complete the sentence. Sex is I want you to complete the sentence. Don't overthink, just type whatever comes to you. Sex is fun. Laughing out loud. What does that mean, Janet? Burden. Union. Intimacy. Pleasure. A dream. Complicated. Past. I'm just laughing over that being the question. Why is that? Comforting. I just pick sex because it's a very taboo topic for many, right? And I just want you guys to notice, okay? The same sentence, sex is, it's neutral, right? For some people, it's pleasure. For some people, it's complication. For some people, it's union, divine union, wonderful. For some other people, it's a burden. For some other people, it's past. For some other people, it's comforting. So you complete that sentence and then you check in with yourself. Wow, how do I feel about that? Wow, I felt uncomfortable to share, for example. So that's something to explore. Why did you feel? Why is it uncomfortable? Maybe you were raised with strong religion and sex was seen as bad. Or maybe you were raised in a home that sex was the norm, it was always happening and it was supernatural. And for you, it's not a big deal to talk about it. So you can grab topics like that and you can say a sentence. Okay, you guys want to do another one? Even more intimate one? Yes? Okay. Masturbation is a saving grace. Awesome. Necessary. Good. Self-gratification. A release. A necessity when you have no partner. Amazing. A connection with my shadow self. And I'm sure that many of you, most likely, you are not even sharing in the chat because this is making you feel uncomfortable. Because maybe you never had an opportunity to respond to this. Maybe no one ever asked you about this before. So no idea, uncomplicated. So exactly. So let's do another one that is not related to sex, okay? Let's do the thing that I didn't get when I was little was. The thing I didn't get when I was little was. And then you complete the sentence. Support. Being taken seriously. Praise. affection, love and support, self-assurance, understanding, physical touch. Amazing. So now that you are aware of this, then the next question will be, okay, so how are you giving this to yourself now? What is your relationship with this need that you didn't get when you were little? Is this something that you have found a way to give it to yourself now and it feels integrated? Or would you say that there is so much about this lack that it's still burdening you down and it's still showing up in toxic ways? Yeah, I take others seriously and respect my thoughts and wisdom. Yeah. Yeah, so this is another opportunity, right? But another one, right? The thing that triggers me the most is, and this is a present sentence. Okay, the thing that triggers me the most is, and then complete the sentence. Disrespect, hypocrisy, self-love, but I abandon, neglect myself sometimes, when others don't listen when I'm speaking to them, rejection, being ignored or dismissed, lies, being talked down to, boundaries crossed, give and ask for hugs from others, injustice, manipulation, dishonesty, no boundaries. Yeah, so just think all of these things that came up of the thing that triggered me the most is, and you guys came up with so many different things. And now again, exploring these things. How is my relationship to dishonesty? What is my relationship with manipulation? If I can see manipulation in others and it's triggering me so much, where in my life do I manipulate others? Where in my life I manipulate myself? Or where in my life I would like to be able to manipulate, and that's why I'm feeling so triggered about this behavior. And this is an opportunity to discover things from yourself. And this is something that, guys, you can do this exercise. Just come up with questions like this and just complete them. And you can do this about specific topics. You can do this about specific behaviors. You can even go online and find shadow questions or something like that. I'm sure there is stuff online that you can find, but it's such a powerful exercise because it's giving you the opportunity to really recognize, wow, I feel a lot of tension about this question. Why is it that? Why do I feel tension about this question, right? Hacks was in response to the last follow-up about how we give ourselves the things we missed in childhood. Yeah. Thank you, Marjorie, for the acceleration. Yeah, fear and humor bubbling away. Yeah. So guys, we're almost at the end of the session. I would like to know, how are you guys doing? Is there anything else that you guys want to ask? Anything you want to share? This is just a little introduction to this amazing world of healing through discovering parts of yourself that maybe are unconscious, hidden, repressed, etc. This session has been such serendipitous timing for me, incredibly helpful. Thank you. Feel so heard here. Thank you, Loretta and Rebecca. Really appreciate everyone's shares here today. Thank you, JB. Yeah, amazing shares, guys. Such amazing and heartfelt shares. Perhaps you will be willing to repeat this session with other questions. Maria, yeah, we can do that. Actually, can we do this topic again another time, please? Yeah, and what would you guys enjoy to cover in that topic? Is there a specific area or specific thing that you guys would like to dive into? Um, but yeah, this is something that can be really powerful to find entry points in your life where you can keep doing your work, keep growing, keep becoming aware, and keep discovering things that you need to work through, things that you need to polish, and this is going to really have a humongous impact in the relationship with yourself, the relationship with others, in your productivity, in your emotional and mental health. Absolutely, 100%. But yeah, this was amazing and scary and enlightening. Thank you, Peta. Thanks for delving into some of these triggers. You are welcome, Irene. More shadow work helps us to be whole, and the support here is overwhelming. Yeah, doing this alone is not the same as doing this in a group setting. That's why I have a men's group. That's why my wife is a part of a few circles. That's why my wife and I we do intentional dialogue, and we create this safe container for us to do this work, because otherwise it wouldn't be possible for us to do it. It just doesn't feel safe. And also, sometimes things can be done with your couple, with your partner, but sometimes there are things that you have to take somewhere else, because your partner is not the one to do all the work for you either. It can be very overwhelming for, like, if I had to hold everything about Samantha and what she needs, and or she has to hold me all the time, it will be overwhelming for both of us, right? That's why having external avenues to bring this work into is really powerful. This can be a group, this can be therapists, this can be a counselor, this can be a coach, this can be a group like this where you are working through things. This can be reading a good book and doing the exercises from the book. This can be watching a video that is talking about a specific topic. This can be doing a meditation that is guided and it's taking you somewhere that probably you wouldn't be able to go there alone. So there are many different ways of doing this. But yeah, maybe ask for an exercise on us to make a list of shadow items and we can discuss how to overcome them. Yeah, so Iris, I invite you to do that, and to all of you, if you want to create a list on things that you notice, things that you are becoming aware of, and you want to bring them into a safe space, next week on Tuesday, I schedule a sacred time with Emilio. It's gonna be a live session like this today. I didn't have a specific topic in mind, so I just want to hold space, sacred space, and I invite you all to come to that and bring whatever you have. We can go anywhere you guys want to. Like, whoever is present, we will decide together what we want to do that sacred time. We can do some shadow work, we can do some gratefulness, we can do a little meditation, we can do a Q&A, we can do whatever we want in that space, and we can decide that in the moment of on Tuesday. But yeah, my invitation is for you guys to do that work, to do those questions, to do an inventory of your triggers, do an inventory of the things that you didn't get when you were little, do an inventory of strong emotions that may be present for you right now and how they are showing up in your life, and we can hold each other and we can witness each other. And yeah, and if you want advice, if you want, you can ask for it and you can say, what do you guys think? And then we can open up the floor for that if that's what you want, but you don't have to want that either. Thank you for helping us and sharing your deep felt experiences, Emilio. This help is greatly needed and appreciated. Thank you, Angie. I'm happy that you saw it that way. Yeah, this and Katrina Boss are my two favorite sessions that felt connected with this kind of Personal development, effort, and learning. Yeah, BD. I'm actually taking one of Katrina Boss's courses about Tantra. It's a 9-month course, and I'm loving it. I'm so happy that I signed up for it. So yeah, she's a wonderful teacher. Emilio, do you have any shadow work books that you would recommend? So JB, I don't have a specific book in mind, but all the work that we do here, all the books that I cover here, like the adult children of emotionally immature parents, and all the sessions I did on that book, for example, they are all about shadow work. They are all about uncovering your true self and discovering the role self that you created when you were little, and how to bring back your true self, how to discover who that is and where those traits about yourself are. So that's a beautiful book. But yeah, it's there are so many ways, so many books, that any book related to healing, any book related to looking at your life experiences, any book to look at trauma, they all connect. Like trauma work, shadow work, inner child work, somatic work, healing work in any modalities, EFT, emotional tapping, any of these things is everything is connected. So discovering your shadow work can be done in so many different ways. But I'll see if I can find something concrete for next Tuesday and bring it to the space. Okay. Amazing, guys. Thank you for another great and compassionate session. You are most welcome, Iris. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. I hope to see you. I won't have a live session on Thursday because we're giving a talk, to a wellness talk about executive functioning skills, my partner and I. So I won't be doing a live call here, but I hope to see you guys on Tuesday next week. Okay. Until then, have an amazing rest of the week and keep exploring your shadows. Okay. Adios.